KEKO. What is KEKO? Who is KEKO? If you are Finn, you can guess the word KEKO comes from the word muurahaiskeko, the ant hill. A pile that looks like but actually is full of action, full of goals, full of responsibilities. That's what is KEKO, an ecosystem in the smart building domain. My name is Tuuli Ahava. In my everyday work, I do digital automation and industrial 5G at Nokia. Today, as one KEKO member, I'm your host. I'm super thrilled, maybe a bit nervous, but it's so nice to be here with you. I'm physically at Maria 01, a world-known startup campus here at the heart of Helsinki. I was so hoping, actually already last spring, that you all would be here with me. COVID hit, the nasty COVID-19. It's sad, it's tricky, and that's why we host this event online with the great crew from FilmLike and with the KEKO spirit. What is KEKO spirit? Come as you are, let's make future together and with positive vibes. Who is KEKO? KEKO is KONE, YIT or YIT, Caverion, Halton, Netox, VTT and Nokia, powered by Business Finland. I said the word about COVID. I want to make one point clear. We decided that we are not taking a big theme around that important topic that is going to shape our world and our tomorrow. KEKO will be working on it, and you will be hear more about that thematic going forward and following our journey from today, the next year or so. The flow of the day is the agenda that you can see on the screen. And we have a fairly fast-paced 2 hours together, quick, great topics, fast-moving agenda, and it's a little bit reflecting to also what KEKO is and KEKO wants to be. You can comment, send your comments, send your questions in the chat, on the event platform. I cannot promise that we answer every question during these 2 hours, but I can promise you that we will come back to the themes that you have raised up on our website, kekoecosystem.com, as well as in our newsletter the weeks and months from now. Dear KEKO friend, if you still are having your doubts and questions that what is KEKO, am I KEKO friend, come as an open mind. Welcome to challenge us, go forward with us, ask the questions, send us some comments. If you want to do social media, use the hashtag KEKONOW or KEKO ecosystem. With this, in a normal live webinar, I would be talking about housekeeping rules. Today it's sit back, stand up, take a cup of coffee. Next time, I hope we can offer the coffee and cake live. Let's get started. Exciting 2 hours. Our first keynote will be given by Anni Laurila. She's an architect. We want to get an external view on KEKO. She's a renowned speaker and also recognized by World Economic Forum. Anni, we are super excited to have you here. The floor is yours. Tell us something about the shared future that is actually our hands. Once again, warm welcome, KEKO friends, and Anni, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real pleasure to be here speaking to you. So I will start this morning by looking at things that might be coming in the future, some predictions and also some questions that we could arise from that. And I want to make you think about what could be coming and how you would want to shape that as well. So I will start with these sentences. So firstly, the built environment is everywhere. It's really important what it is like. We spend 90% of our time within buildings, and also they are something that really stay in our environment for a long time because they're big investments. 45% of our national wealth is in the built environment. And the fact that they stay there for a very long time means that it's going to last into the future of future generations that will have a very different experience of the world compared to us because of the different advances in technology and also different challenges that we should be working on right now. So that's why we really need to think about what might be coming in the long term as well. So just briefly about my background. So I both worked as an architect traditionally, but also looked at these big challenges in the world, for example, in this program at NASA Ames, and then looked at climate change deeper. And I felt like there were kind of two different paths. I was designing as an architect for a long-term future, but kind of looking at the future from today's perspective. But on the other hand, I was looking at the development of technology really rapidly developing. And I was thinking that I should somehow start to bind these two together. So that's what I'm going to talk about right now. So first I want to look back a little bit so that I can kind of show you how big the changes can be. We have really seen in this time, especially during Corona, that big changes are possible. So I don't really need to convince you of this. But then again, this is still a very short time in terms of the time that we have had technology developing. So if you look at a really long-term perspective where the technology can be at, then it brings even more interesting questions. So if you look in the past and listen to people who were supposed to be the experts of that time, knowing where technology is heading, they often gave really wrong answers to what might be coming. And that really shows how difficult it is to predict the future. So basically we need to think about these different scenarios that might be happening and what it would mean. It's not certain where it's going to go. And here is an example of how our work life is changing. So first we did things on paper and so on, and then they were on computers. And then even during that time, they were asking, would anyone want to bring a computer at home? But right now, we're even working from our dinner tables with these small smartphones. And the last one is an estimate from AT&T that there would be 900,000 cell phones in the year 2000. But they were really wrong because there were actually 109 million, which is 120 times more than what they expected. So what this actually meant is the fact that people really could be reached so much faster. Here's an interesting example of that. So for the telephone, it actually took 75 years to reach 50 million people. And for Pokemon Go, it took only 19 days. And what's interesting is that only at the turn of 2018 and 2019, the half of the world's population got online, and now the number is maybe around 60. So there's still a lot of people who are not online, and that's a really interesting question to arise. So if we look at cities then, okay, what kind of changes have this brought into cities in the long term? So if you look at these pictures on the left, they're from the year 1908. And as you can see, the whole streetscape has changed. The streets are the same width, but still there is huge changes in the streets because of cars. And probably the people who were designing the environment back then didn't think about this new way of transportation that would be coming. And if you look at then building design, then you can see that they're actually in these old pictures building really traditional buildings. And even though this picture shows something that is not being done yet, and actually right now we can do a lot more with the advancement of building technology, for example, building information modeling or structural engineering, parametric design, and so on. And within buildings, this is what we're really looking into at KEKO. If you look at inside buildings, there have been a lot of changes in technology. So here's an example of the Art Museum Atheneum. A lot of technology has been put into it, but really seamlessly so that you don't see it. So ventilation, lighting, fire safety, and so on. So we want to make our buildings last for 100 years. You know, what could be the future be like in 100 years if all these changes happened in the past 100 years? So let's try. What could be coming? We don't know, but let's try. So one really easy one is remote work, because that's what we've been really doing right now, even at this moment, right? But if we look even further, maybe we can ask, how is remote work going to be different in the future? Will it be more immersive? How could it be even better than working in real life? So maybe it would be feeling that you are in the same space with another person, but then also having a layer of design at the same time. And then with buildings, it's really important to look at what then if we don't need it for the past use and we need to change the space. So how can we design spaces that can be changed? And again, if you look at this remote work example where a lot of us are working from home, and we might be asking, what is the home, what is the workplace at home that is good? But we shouldn't just ask, what is it like with these tools that we have right now, but how is it good with the tools that we have in the future? So transportation, of course, can change a lot, even further. Self-driving cars, shared mobility, that could really change the streetscape again. Maybe we don't need to park the cars really close by to the location that we're staying at, and so change it. And also, just an example, three-dimensional traffic, that is also something that is being developed. What is it going to be like? How do we manage that? And also development of design tools. There's been a natural change from drawing by hand to doing things on computer. But the natural pace where it's going is going into a more immersive space of designing. But also a good question to ask is that what is the role of the designer when we have different tools with, for example, machine learning and how to bring the best solutions? Are we more about bringing the parameters, the values, and then getting the solutions from these machines? So another thing is where will materials develop? Here's an example of a facade that is collecting air pollution, for example. So it's interesting to see where this development could be going. And of course, it's a lot about the price and availability of resources and so on. Not everything is going to be become mainstream. But here's an example of solar panels, for example. As you can see, there has been an incredible increase in them, an exponential increase. So that really brings really interesting design perspectives in how to really integrate it into the building in a really beautiful way. And of course, we can ask then, what is the physical space? What is the role of the physical space and the technological dimension of that? So maybe we don't just have the physical space, but also a layer of technology more embedded in a more ubiquitous way. And we have these small examples of that, for example, in art galleries, like in this picture, or on facades. And what we're really talking about today is smarter spaces and buildings. And we're going to get more deeply into this topic. And what I really want to highlight with this is the sustainability perspective, which is also in these slides. Because simultaneously we have really big challenges ahead of us. And I want to highlight especially sustainability, because that is something of a crisis that we really need to be addressing today, and the built environment has a huge role in. So this is a graph that shows how quickly we need to make changes. So we really need to be bringing solutions from all fronts. And Here's a graph of how what our average footprint is in Finland, and basically we would need to cut it down to 1/10 of what it is right now. And here are some statistics of why the built environment matters. The built environment in Finland consumes half of the raw materials, 40% of energy, and produces more than a third of our greenhouse gas emissions. So we really need to get this industry working on this to achieve our goals. So if we look at the building, if we look at what it consists of, the different greenhouse gas emissions, we can see that the energy sector is 3/4, and then we can see where it's distributed. And there you can see different parts that are really connected to the built environment. So for example, heating of the buildings, and also industry. So producing those buildings, what kind of materials are we using for them? And here are some examples of what different ways we can use to bring more sustainable constructions. So use more sustainable materials, but also expand the lifespan of the buildings. And then when we need to deconstruct them, think about the recyclability of different materials and reuse of different materials. But then we also have these big estimates that worldwide we would have to double our building stock by 2060. So that's a big question that we have to ask. I want to really bring that kind of perspective that if you looked at the beginning of the slides, the people who were giving these estimates, they weren't always right. And I want to really highlight that these predictions, they're not something that is set in stone. It's not the fate. It's something that we can really just use as guidelines for what we are doing. So we can really change the course in what we do. So just give you an example. Ozone depletion. That was something that was a big issue in 1989. We managed to eventually do big changes in that. So yeah, we should really remember that these predictions are only tools for the changes that we need in the world. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anni. Three-dimensional traffic, sustainability, shared future, how tricky it is to predict, all themes that are fitting well our KEKO ecosystem thoughts and the way forward. Next on the agenda, we have one of the KEKO veterans who will be talking about KEKO vision, and is actually a visionary and a digital guru also himself. Mikko Kuusakoski from YIT, welcome on stage.
Thank you very much, Tuuli, for having me live here. Thank you very much, Tuuli, for having me here live on camera. I'm Mikko Kuusakoski, Head of Data and Analytics for YIT, and I'm here to tell you about our KEKO vision. So, when we started KEKO, we had a great idea and a very good name, and very good companies wanting to change the way we see buildings and how to make buildings smarter. And the first thing that we realized that we cannot do it alone, so we need an ecosystem. So we need to create a vision that everyone can easily relate to and understand. So we started with the idea that we all deserve safer, more fluent, and more productive buildings. And we made a lot of interviews with our customers and design thinking type of research work to get really to the bottom of what kind of stakeholders that actually means and what can we really do for them. And we actually ended up with 7 stakeholders who we really want to focus on in KEKO. And these 7 stakeholders not only give you an idea of what kind of customers we want to serve in the KEKO, but also the idea of the full life cycle of the building. So we start from planning and we go to construction or renovation, management, and all the way to using the building and creating services in the building. And these, all our challenges and epics, we can then relate to these stakeholders and ensure that we're actually delivering value to the customers. There's also a lot of themes in the whole smarter buildings area, but we were able to coin those themes into 24 central themes. And these themes we are using to see what kind of epics we are, what kind of key topics they are touching, how well do we serve our stakeholders in terms of the pilots and solutions. Well, those are kind of the vision ideas that we can relate to, but here are some of the facts of KEKO also. So it's a 2-year project. We have 1 year to go, and we already have had challenges running, and you will hear a bit more about that in the next presentation. The idea is to get 100 use cases that help our stakeholders, and those we have identified, and now using those use cases we are creating epics and challenges to get solutions and proof of concepts that we can then deliver. And of course, all of this is funded by Business Finland, so it's in that terms it's an innovation and an ecosystem challenge that the idea is also to find something new. And in terms of the challenges, we have already done this building experience challenge, adaptive buildings challenge, and then the digital twin challenge is something that you will hear from next. It's still ongoing. And here are some description pages. Well, the way we work is that we're using agile methods. So everyone who joins us in our epics will be working at a very intensive pace. The idea is to go through the whole design and implementation to pilot all the way in 2-week sprints. So how does that create a platform or an ecosystem? The way it happens is that we take all those results and then we collect those results and then we make them all work together so that we don't create point solutions for construction or planning or tenants, but we actually create this kind of a platform ecosystem where everything works together. And for this, we have already created also a technological platform called KEPI, where we have APIs and where we can take data from pilots and also combine it to some real other data. At this point, we are an innovation ecosystem. So our partners and VTT are running these epics and creating these proofs of concepts, and we're being funded by Business Finland to get the idea what to do. So in that sense, the idea is that by the end of this project, we will actually have a great picture of what this smart building really is, so that we can start scaling it and bringing in partners, both small and large, and to help the ecosystem grow not only locally but also globally by providing some kind of attachment and standards for companies in the smart building ecosystem. So the vision is that KEKO ecosystem is a global standard for smart building. And this is a very important vision because a lot of smart building projects are one building size and they are not scalable. So here we're also trying to create solutions that are scalable and globally relevant. So we won't be doing all 100 use cases to one building. we try to find the ones that are really relevant to all buildings. For this, we are also using YIT's, some of YIT's largest projects, Mario 01 and K-Tower, to acid test the requirements against real construction projects so that we can really see how everything works and if they work together the way that it's planned. The idea here is, of course, that it's an ecosystem. So we have a lot of companies joining this through challenges. 3 challenges have been done. We still have a year to go, so a lot of more challenges will follow. And the way to participate is to, of course, follow our site, follow our news, and also you can directly be in contact with any of our partner companies and VTT. And also, there's still a lot of challenges planned, so it's also possible to have discussions about how we could expand our topics and our stakeholders. So please be in touch with KEKO, please join our challenges, and please help us to create the best ecosystem and the most scalable global smart building platform there is.
Thanks, Mikko. Thank you. Now at least you KEKO friends out there start to understand a little bit more that what is this KEKO ecosystem and where we are aiming at. Ecosystem project. Yes, we are 7 founding members of KEKO, but that's not enough. And what Mikko was telling us a moment ago, we've been running these challenges. And to be honest, yesterday evening when I was preparing and thinking about the chance to get to talk to you today, I thought that, why do we call them? The challenge is always like, oh, challenge or problem. Actually, we are creating opportunities. And so we call them challenges, but actually they have been opportunities. And when designing the flow for today, it was so great to invite 2 startups from Finland to talk to you guys. And I call it the pitch, but this time the pitch is not to win something, because both Emplica and Proximio, they have already won. They've been chosen as the winners of our first Combient Foundry Challenge, as well as the first Industry Hack. I also want to take the moment to thank everyone who has joined our challenges and participated so far. Yes, we give the spotlight today to the 2 winner ones so far, but it's very important that we have got the good traction, very good proposals, and I'm sure that we are going to continue also other contestants of our challenges or opportunity captures so far. With this, we are now taking our first remote participant. I hope that I have Annina soon on our teams, but let's do so. I can see Emplica's Willy waiting for his chance. Why wouldn't we just do something on the flow, on the go? Let's swap. Willy, the floor is yours. Willy Hättönen, Emplica. We are waiting for Willy's slides to be on the stage. I'm going to on the screen. I'm going to check. Thanks a lot for comments and questions that you have been posting to us. And there are good questions about indoor positioning. And hey, KEKO members out there, feel free to comment and be active and ask some of these simple questions that have been posted there, because there are answers, also nice comments, and thanks for being active. And hey, let's get rocking. Willy Hättönen, Emplica, the Combient Foundry winner for KEKO ecosystem. Willy, the floor is yours.
Thank you really much. So as said, I'm Willy. Hey everyone. And I'm here today to talk about Comcast, the solution that recently won the KEKO Adaptive Buildings Challenge. And also I'm going to give an honest experience how is it to work from the point of view of small company with all these industry giants. The Comcast, the team behind it is here. So I work as a data scientist in Emblica, and with Irma and Riku we participated this really awesome challenge a couple months back. And I'm really proud to say that it was really a competitive challenge. And coming up as a winner was a surprise for us, but a really welcome one. And a little bit later, more thoughts about the collaboration within KEKO. As a data scientist, I design machine learning models, but as we're a small company, it happens that I'm also implementing them. And turns out that it brings a nice angle to your designing table when you actually have to make it happen in real world. Emblica, just in case that you wouldn't have heard of us, we are employee-owned small company in Helsinki, and we do things about data. Cloud platforms, analytics, machine learning. And we do stand out in the approach that we take to problems, because we love hard technical problems. That's why we have also been participating to the KEKO Challenge, because these guys, they provide a really good one, how to make buildings adaptive. The way that we approach things is boots in the clay and hands on the keyboard. Our approach to solve problems is rather research and development approach, and our customers come from both public and private sector, ranging from media to big industry players. And the solution that we developed for the KEKO Challenge was directed to end users, to us, people like you and me. Because as of today, most of smart building things are about efficiency and productivity, how to make the maintenance more efficient, how to use the space more efficiently. But when we use buildings, when you go to the new office building that you have never been to, you have a goal, you have something that you want to do. You need to focus, you have important meeting coming up, or then you need to take a nap after a long travel, or perhaps you want to network in Friday evening. Well, to make that happen, we are going to develop this machine learning model that is going to give the building a voice to tell that where is the good space for the thing that you want to do at the moment. And really shortly how it works, Keppi, the data well source of KEKO, we're going to build on top of that, take plenty of data that is available, put a temporal machine learning model on top of it, and then provide this to the ecosystem and to other players to use. And that could be you. Because we are not planning to make an application out of this. We are providing the data that we enrich for others to use. And I think this is the core of the ecosystem, that together we can build something working where you can concentrate on the thing that you do well, in our case machine learning, and provide something that actually brings value to the end user. So the stuff that we are going to provide is going to be available in any application that is part of KEKO and wants to utilize this data source we are providing. And this is what I want to leave you with, that I think this is a great opportunity for companies of all sizes to come together of this initiative, because even as a small player, you can actually play your part and get something pretty cool done. Thank you really much.
Thanks, Philly. Thanks, Emblica. Thanks being part of KEKO journey. I promised you 2 pitches, and hey, you have a promising startup pitching, and the time is kept very beautifully. So thanks for that. And now we move to our first Industry Hack Challenge winner, Proximi.io, and we have Annina Koskiola joining us online. Annina, I hope you can hear me, and I hope especially that we will hear you. Please, Annina.
Hi everybody, my name is Annina Koskiola and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Proximi.io. Hope you can all hear me well. I'm participating remotely because of an annoying flu, so I hope I make sense. Proximi.io is based in Helsinki. We were founded in 2014 and our headquarters is actually in Maria 01. And what we are doing through this opportunity with the KEKO platform and KEKO consortium is experience-driven indoor wayfinding. There's 2 components to it that we want to explore. Let's move to the next slide. To start with the first aspect. It's a bit funny to talk about traditional way of indoor navigation when the whole field is so new. It's less than 10 years old or 10 years new. But when you think about navigation in general and the applications that we use in our everyday life with Google Maps and Apple Maps and so forth, navigation experience is very much on you looking at your mobile phone screen. You can see the map and the route there and the instructions, and then you walk around with your phone. And this is something that we want to scrap. We want to get rid of the screen and explore through this opportunity on how the building could guide the visitor to their destination. Let's move to the next slide. And how we want to do this is through utilizing the existing infrastructure in the building. For example, by using lighting to guide the visitor. There will be still some mobile element. We cannot completely get rid of it because the user needs to be somehow able to tell the building where they are going to. And of course you could use like Alexa or some other system like that, but I don't see people in public places starting to shout to the walls like, building, take me to a meeting room. So there's still, at least today, there's going to be a mobile element where the user can search for a place, and then it tells them, follow the building, follow the lighting, for example, blue light to your destination. We will be doing this in the scope of a small POC with Philips Hue lights or some other simple additional intelligent lights, but in the future it could be the actual lighting fixtures installed in the building that would change color or change intensity or somehow else indicate to the user which direction they need to go to. Let's go to the next slide. And we're also interested in exploring how other fixtures in the building could be utilized, such as digital screens that are already attached at some entrances and at meeting room doors, for example. How could they also guide the user to their direction? We are also thinking about other things that you could automatize and optimize along the journey, like how could you optimize elevators, for example, so that the building would already know that you are approaching the lobby and you're going to 3rd floor, so the elevator would already be there and take you to the 3rd floor. And we might not be able to do all of these during the scope of just one POC, but these are the concepts that we're exploring together with KEKO in this project. And let's go to the next slide. And the other thing that we want to do is to integrate different KEKO data points to the whole solution. The idea of the pilot will be at the pilot venue for users to be able to search for available meeting rooms, workstations, or phone booths ad hoc according to their needs. And for that, we're doing a simple interface. And on the next slide, we can see how we are interested in seeing how the different KEKO data could interact together. So instead of just showing what meeting room is available now, we're taking into consideration where the user is physically, the availability of different meeting rooms, and then different sensor data there. And we're interested in exploring if the users of a smart office building are interested in utilizing meeting rooms that have, for example, better air quality or co-working spaces that are calmer than the other ones. So we are already catching on to what was said in the previous presentation and other partners being able to utilize the calmness index. So we are planning to utilize that in our project already. So in addition to the building guiding you to the meeting room, it can also recommend you which one would fit best your current needs and what would be sort of healthiest and most convenient for you. We're also thinking about how we could utilize this data in the navigation experience so that we would take the calmness index information into consideration when planning the route so that it would go along calmer routes, which during the current pandemic times would mean routes with less people, so that could be a bit safer for you. Let's go to the next slide. And along this experimentation, we will also get a lot of interesting data on how people move around buildings, how long they stay in different areas, what are bottlenecks, how is the people flow at different times of the day. So this will be a very interesting additional data that will be accumulated during the pilot. Let's go to the next slide. And just an introduction on us. Why we feel like we will be a very interesting partner to do this with KEKO is that since 2014 we've been focusing on mobile positioning, mobile navigation. We're a technology agnostic positioning platform, so our approach is that we want to be able to utilize all of the sensors in a standard smartphone for positioning the user and then using it for the navigation experience, for example. And we believe very strongly in openness and integrations. The whole platform, our platform has been built from the point of view that you can integrate it very easily to other solutions. So that's why it's a good match for this kind of experimentation. And let's go to the next slide. We're already active in about 15 countries globally, in different malls, office spaces, amusement parks, some hotels and government buildings, so different kinds of publicly accessible buildings. And if I had a last slide, let's go there. So I will not talk more, not to go over time, but thank you all very much. And here's my contact information if you're interested in hearing more about us. Thank you.
Thanks, Annina. We heard you clear and loud. We saw your slides perfectly. Hopefully next time I can see you live because we've never met. Thanks again to Proximi.io and Emblica and all the participants in our challenges so far. I repeat myself, yes, we gave the spotlight for the 2 first winners, but we saw a lot of ecosystem potential among the contestants, and I hope that we will continue growing our ecosystem. Now we move to the technically most challenging part of this event. I'm going to host a fireside chat, and I was hoping to have 4 KEKO members with me on the stage or on this fireside seat. Actually, I'm very happy I have here Mikko Kuusakoski from Netox, and we come back to Markku in a second. But I would like to now have a bit of a sound check and introduce very quickly who we'll have here. And these 4 KEKO members are all part of our steering group and also out of the 7 founding KEKO companies. But hey, let's take a sound check. Rauno Hatakka from KONE. Rane, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well and we see you. I come back to you in a second. Tuomo Härkönen, Kaverion, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Perfect. I hear you very well and welcome. And then we should have, thank you, Katri Valkokari from VTT. Katri, can you hear me? And please say something.
Hello. I can hear you. Hopefully you can hear me too. I guess not.
All well. We are all good to go. So 4 members out of KEKO core, KEKO ecosystem. We'll start with an easy question, and hey, this is a hybrid model, partly live with Markku, the rest out there somewhere in Finland. So I'm going to be the boss. So I'm going to moderate. So we don't go wild discussion before I allow. With this, we do a very easy round. I would like to hear like a few sentence introduction to your company, as well as your own role. And we start in the room here in Maria 01. Markku,
Excellent.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, and good to see you guys over the live video link. Mikko Kuusakoski from Netox, Director of Cybersecurity. And Netox is an IT provider, and in this KEKO context, we are mostly focusing on the cybersecurity of the holistic ecosystem.
Markku, KEKO, Cybersecurity, Netox.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's move on. Rauno Hatakka, KONE. Rauno, your turn.
Yeah, hello. Rauno Hatakka from KONE, and I'm charge of the technology management in KONE. So meaning that we are doing all kind of technology experimentation and also participating in this kind of ecosystems and so on.
Thank you. Let's move on. Tuomo Härkönen and Kaverion. Who is Kaverion and what is your role?
Yeah, my name is Tuomo Härkönen, and I'm heading digital solutions development in Kaverion. Kaverion is actually one of the biggest facility management company in Northern Europe, so we are not so small, and our turnover is something like over 2 billion euros, and we have approximately 16,000 employees in European area.
Thank you. And then we move, last but not least, to Katri Valkokari from VTT. VTT being KEKO Ecosystems' main research partner. So Katri, over to you.
Thanks. So VTT is a research and technology development organization at KEKO. Our role is especially on doing research on the user experience and also this business and ecosystem development.
Thank you. And now let's get rocking. Let's remember that the role of this fireside chat is to spread the understanding that why this type of 7 companies, entities have come together around the smart building domain and built environment and tomorrow together in an ecosystem spirit. We'll start with KONE. Rauno, we do know many things about big Finnish brand KONE, but would you still like to crispen, and we'll hear a little bit more later, but a bit crispen that your company, KONE vision on the smart building domain and also in your own work, is this one of this KEKO for you in smart building context, or is it what you do all the time?
Yes, so maybe as you know, so that our mission in KONE is to provide the best people flow in and between building. So from that sentence point of view, it's very important that we understand the buildings very well. And in my role in this building, so we also KONE have to have a look a little bit that more widely. Let's say that we have been also traditional the elevator and escalator company. So we would really like to go more towards our vision and also understand all the players and user in the smart building.
Thank you. I'll continue with the easy one, because I know that Tuomo, you and Kaverion, you are in this very domain. But could you reflect a little bit that still, why did you as Kaverion join KEKO?
No, it's quite easy question. So our vision is to be the first choice in digitalizing environments in our industry, and already we are the forerunner, I would say, in holistic building and industrial life cycle solutions to support our customers to make sustainable choices, and we have understood that this is a huge task, so we must do everything what we can, and KEKO is the best possible place for us to go towards to our vision.
Thanks. I'll still stay online. Katri, for VTT, you are a research institute. So how would you reflect on the KEKO vision and the role of research in that?
Yes, if we think about the VTT strategic agenda, we have the climate change and good life, for instance, as our strategic topics. And I see there is a strong connection between these topics and the KEKO vision, so that we are able to build the kind of brighter future life in a different buildings and in a smart city context.
Thanks. And now back to the studio. Markku, you mentioned the cybersecurity, and you come from you're a smaller KEKO member company called Netox. So I would probably repeat to you the question, not regarding the vision, but why smart building related project for an IT house called Netox?
That's a good question. I want to take something from what Rauno said, and also from previous presentations. This is about the ecosystem, and it's much like cybersecurity is. It's an ecosystem built from bits and pieces. So it's not one solution, but it's a holistic solution from different aspects. And smart building being part of the built environment, smart cities and so forth. It's the holistic view, not just having, for example, people flow inside the building, but also outside the building. So connected environment. Huge and highly interested area.
Thank you. I could ask why all of you or your companies have joined KEKO, but I'm not going to ask that because it sort of came already in your answers. But has there been any surprises in the 1 year KEKO journey so far? Tuomo?
Yeah, sure. A lot of surprises. And one of kind of positive surprise is that we were really able to implement the new agile way of doing cooperation between companies. I would say that based on my experience, this has not been happened earlier in this kind of community. So very, very happy to say that.
Thanks to the agile, the epics, the sprints. I also think that it's super cool in an ecosystem project. Rauno, you were smiling. Anything to add?
I think I would add also so that I have been surprised how fast we can react to things. Okay, we say that we are not talking about this COVID issue, but for example, it was raised this health and well-being, and it's now under work and so on. So I think that we can really react very fast.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. What about Markku? You anything to add?
No, I'll echo what Rauno said about the adding new items and also regarding the agile way of working. I have a long history in this kind of projects inside collaboration programs, and this is really new. I haven't experienced anything like this before, where we build everything in agile way, and also we are building an ecosystem, not just the founding partners, but bringing new companies, new people in. Mm-hmm. That's really exciting.
Thank you. Katri, anything to add?
No, nothing to add, but I still want to kind of conclude this, that I have been really positively surprised how these companies have been able to do this together, because based on my experience, typically this kind of industry-driven ecosystems, they quite often focus on the vision of one company. And here, really, the companies share the vision and also the actions towards the vision and all these agile methods and everything. It is been a positive way of doing things.
Thanks a lot. And as a KEKO member, I fully agree with all of you guys. Hey, let's talk about challenges. it's nice to talk about ecosystems, and we have moved to the real work within KEKO. What about the challenges? Rauno, have you come up, and also from being a massive KEKO member and a big company, KONE, so any challenges on your KEKO journey or our KEKO journey so far?
Okay, maybe it's always when we start this kind of ecosystem, so to get the things up and running, and I think it took some time at the beginning when we started, but now I'm more than happy how we are doing the things, and of course we could always put more resources there as a company and so on, but I think with the resources and the output we have done really excellent job so far.
Thanks, Rauno. What about Katri, you? Again, keep the researcher hat on. So any challenges from VTT point of view, also very key KEKO member and being active from that side?
Yeah, I think from the research perspective, then maybe this agile method has challenged the researcher a little bit, because it's a different way of doing research when you have to kind of keep running and keep the fast timeline with the sprints, when you think that for the research you every now and then need also kind of longer time period to go deeper on certain focus areas, and that from the research perspective has been a new challenge, but also an opportunity, of course.
Thanks a lot. Tuomo, you can of course answer also the challenge question, but I would also be very interested in hearing, because you come from the heart of the smart building domain. So what have been for Caverion so far the main achievements? And what have you learned? Because you know this domain far better than I know coming from Nokia.
Okay. We have done a lot of research around this topic, and we have learned a lot about the future business models. That's the key of everything, that we need to learn how the ecosystems are working. That's one big topic and one big learning, and it is continuing. But at the same time, we have made a lot of experimental research and got good results around the data harmonization, open API, scalable analyzing models, and so on. So we have two-folded approach in these results. So common research and then quite technical research has been there.
Thanks a lot. And hey, Markku, you have a history. It's not only Netox, but the history in public funded ecosystem projects for a long while. You are very well networked in the industry, and that's why we are happy that also Netox is part of, and you are part of KEKO. What about you were saying kind words about that? Hey, it's cool to see that how we function in KEKO. But what about the challenge side? You can also challenges, and then the other thing I would like you to, from your perspective and experience, what would you like to say to the ecosystem out there? How much time we have? No, let's start. I'll stop when the time is running out.
Okay. Well, regarding the challenges what we've had, and this is also the strength of the ecosystem. But we have key players from different sides of the ecosystem and also different domains. We have companies and key players from the construction side. We have infrastructure side. And then we have players like us, maybe Nokia to some extent, who are not that maybe well aware of this domain, the built environment. So the challenges we see is to understand how everything works. And we've learned to live in agile way, but not everything works in agile way in this environment. But it goes also other way around. The traditional environment where you are in this domain may not understand all the challenges we have, for example, in the communication side or cybersecurity side, when we deal with information for locations and peoples and so forth. Mm-hmm. And there are certain rules how we can add and include, for example, new companies, new players. So coming and building everything together, it's a huge challenge, but we will succeed on that one. I really believe on that. But there's still a lot of work to do.
Thank you. Thanks.
I kept it short.
It was crisp enough. Now I would like to have a very democratic round, so everyone gets the same question, and I think that this will also interest our audience out there, the friends or soon-to-be friends, hopefully soon-to-be friends, KEKO friends. So everyone gets the same question. So main achievement for your company so far after the KEKO year number 1? And let us start from Katri, VTT.
Main achievement, I think it relates to this way of working, and we have been able to learn to do things like in this agile way.
Thank you. Tuomo.
Yeah, I will have actually the same answer. So we have learned a lot to do cooperation between similar type of, or maybe not so similar type of companies, but we have good understanding now that how the dynamics works in this ecosystem, and this is a good result for us.
Tuomo, I challenge you. Anything tangible or technical so far? Because you are already pro in this domain.
I would say that from the energy savings point of view and sustainability point of view, we have done research around the energy saving methodology, and we have artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms are in place, and we have got extremely nice results. But I'm sorry, I'm not able to tell you so detailed what does it mean, but we are happy for that.
But that was perfect. Thanks a lot, Tuomo. Then Markku.
Yeah.
I would like to say the same things about the collaboration, but I believe, and I would like to believe, that the greatest challenge or achievements that we've done so far as a Netox is to bring more holistic understanding of the cybersecurity, what it means for the consortium.
Thank you. And then Rauno, KONE, main achievements so far.
I think we have learned a lot from user point of view, what are important things in smart. Of course, the developer point of view, that's the one, I think, big achievement. But I think it's also a big achievement, the new way of working with this ecosystem. And then I would maybe also third one is the KEPI experience platform. I think it's also very good achievement.
Yes, and it's nice to hear from all of you guys. You are representing half of KEKO, and then towards the last half an hour of our time together, we will then capture the rest of the KEKO members. Last question that again I would like to address to everyone. What is your message to the KEKO ecosystem out there? Now we are all gathered together. So what is the message from Oulu, Netox, Markku?
To all of the friends and potential friends of KEKO out there, be innovative and open-minded. This is not ready yet, so we need your input to build this thing.
Thank you. Katri?
I would say the same, that the ecosystem is not ready, it's never ready, and we definitely need new members and new collaborators.
Tuomo, anything to add from Caverion?
Yes, sure. This is exciting, really. Be active. I'm sure that we can find new ways of doing business together in this growing smart building ecosystem.
What about the voice from KONE, Rauno?
As we saw from the Mikko's presentation of vision, so that after some time we would be the best ecosystem in the smart building in the world, and I think it's a good, without everybody's effort, SMEs, it's not possible, but I think it's doable. We have a good ecosystem. Please join.
Thanks a lot. I'll also check. I'm very happy that our friends out there have also sent some comments and questions. I'm very happy about that. And thanks for the greetings from VTT Tampere. It's nice to hear from you guys. And you can also specify if you have certain questions for certain KEKO members. So we'll come back to you, if not today during the event, then later. Yes, there is a question about IP, the patents. This is an ecosystem project. All those things are dealt with, but with the KEKO spirit, we are believing in the openness, and that's been really nice to see that we have here smaller players like Netox semi-big players like Caverion and massive players like KONE or Nokia coming together, and YIT, and then our research partner VTT, and we've decided to work for a common vision. Hey, with this, I think that we nailed the first fireside chat, heard from Netox, heard from KONE, heard from VTT, and heard from Caverion. And I would like to now move on our agenda, and thank you, Markku here, and Rauno, Tuomo, Katri, online. It works perfectly, so our sweating hands from last night, all good, and thanks Filmlike for handling the technical side of it. Let's move on. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, let's move on. Again, from our own very talented KEKO family. We get Olli Kilpeläinen from KONE to talk about vision, digitalization, ecosystems, and of course in the context of the smart building domain, as well as greetings from KONE side. Olli, it's great to have you here. I'm so happy that you welcomed this invitation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tuuli. Great to be here. So basically, you have now heard a lot about ecosystems. You have heard about data. You have heard about APIs and how you collaborate with different companies. But what does it really mean for a company like KONE? So I want to tell you a bit about the background of one of the founding members, of why ecosystems are so important for us and how this smart building topic is so relevant for future of KONE. And basically, I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with our brand. You see it in elevators, escalators, automatic doors. But as you already heard earlier, the way we see ourselves is that we are a people flow company. We help people move in and between buildings in the smoothest, safest way possible. And that actually means a lot of different things. And I want to open that a bit of what it actually means beyond just those elevators and escalators out there. But let's start with a couple of numbers which you see on the slide there. So this is a regular day for KONE. Let's consider pre-COVID times. But some of the things of why data is so relevant for KONE. So we actually have over 1.3 million equipment out there being used every day. And we are maintaining them, making sure they are up and running. These are being owned and used by our 500,000 customers around the globe. And our customers are very varying with different needs. Our smallest customers may be a small company running one building with one elevator, very common needs, if you may. And then we have huge customers, for example, in China, who can build almost entire cities in 1 year. Very, very big needs, very big need for smart buildings and so forth. And on a regular day, those equipment of ours move 1 billion people throughout the day, really helping 1 billion people move around. So if you think about this, if we can understand how those over 1.3 million devices are used, how our 500,000 customers are behaving, how their daily operations are run, and what those 1 billion people need and do during the day, I mean, that's really the future and where KONE wants to be. We want to really understand what's happening in the built environment, in the urban areas and the cities of tomorrow. So let's look into this people flow a bit further still. So naturally it's about movement of people, but it really makes a need that many things work together. So of course there are the users of the building. I arrived to this building this morning, I had to find the correct floor and so forth, how do I get there? But you also need to make the solutions in the building work. Maybe you have a receptionist solution, or you have automated door solution. There's a access management solution in the building and so forth. How does this interact with the users? Then we also have operations in the building. For example, there's a light bulb program. someone needs to come and fix it. There's an electrician coming on site. There's cleaning service. How do these interact with the people in the building? So all of these have to work together in order for the people flow to be effective throughout the day, regardless of the situation. Another way to look at people flow is to think of it as steps in a journey. And we can split it to this number of steps you see on the slide now, that basically when you arrive to a site, you need to first figure out how you get there. Maybe you arrive with the public transportation. I used metro this morning. How to get to the site, which building to come. I had to find the correct building. You need to reach maybe parking if you came with car. You go to the entrance. There's a lobby area, maybe a separate landing area and so forth. Then you eventually reach our equipment. You might need elevator. You might need an escalator. Or maybe you want to be healthy today and you use stairs. All of these are part of your journey. And then you arrive to your correct floor, you navigate through the corridors, get your cup of coffee, and finally get to your destination, whether it's an office room or a meeting place, or simply your home. So all of these points are super crucial when you consider the people flow in the building. And of course, we as KONE, we want to make sure that all of this goes smoothly as possible, but we cannot do it alone. That's the point. So we need to collaborate with other companies like our KEKO friends in order to fulfill the best possible experience for the users, the operations, the utilities in the building throughout this journey. Another word you heard many times today is smart buildings. Smart buildings this, smart building that. And that's super important for KONE as well. And we actually did a reasonably big study a while ago. Over 4,000 residents answered our survey when we asked them about what does it mean to have smart functionality in your building. And there's a couple of numbers I want to point out here because it tells a bit about the motivation that KONE has, but I believe also the motivation for all of the members of KEKO and all of the innovators, startups, SMEs who might collaborate with us. Basically, 70% of the homeowners believe that if there are smart building functionalities, smart functionalities in the building, it increases the apartment value. And 2/3 of those homeowners believe that a smart apartment can be sold faster. So very clear values that the residents themselves see on the owned property that they have. And 78% of all residents believe that this will only continue. So the buildings will get smarter and smarter going forward. And this is, of course, the trend that we are following very closely as KONE and as KEKO, together with all the ecosystem partners. So to address this, what we have basically launched now is what we are calling DX-class elevators, comes from digital experience. These are elevators that talk and listen. In order to understand all those points in the people flow, the aspects in the building flow, they now understand what's happening. You can talk to the elevator, you can tell it what you need from it, and it can listen what's happening around the building. Maybe someone knows something that should affect how the elevators are used and so forth. So these DX-class elevators come with built-in connectivity, they're connected to KONE digital platform, and they come with secure APIs. Elevators. Let's watch a short video of why we decided to do that.
As technology evolves much faster than buildings, we operate on an open platform, one that welcomes development and change. Our new elevators come with built-in connectivity and application programming interfaces, in short, APIs. They are interfaces that help machines and applications communicate with one another. APIs enable giving commands to the elevator, and the elevator can communicate with a device remotely. For example, you can choose to let users call the elevator through an app with Elevator Call API. The APIs make it possible to integrate our elevators to the wider building ecosystem and any API-enabled products. These can be native KONE solutions, your own custom building applications, or services developed by third parties. Some even beyond our imagination. connectivity opens up the door for smart and tailored services that can improve over time and cater to the future needs of your building. KONE DX Class elevators, connecting more than floors.
So in short, what we can basically do is that we can build a set of functionalities, experiences, and smartness into the buildings around our elevators. So we can actually enable and enhance further use cases in an ecosystem, of course, by utilizing data, utilizing APIs. Here you now see a picture of a different kind of solutions that this enables us to build. So as a company, we can of course create our own solutions. We have multiple KONE solutions, for example, understanding if there's a predictive need for maintaining our elevators, if there's a certain solution for residential buildings, we are building those. But more relevant for today especially is that now we are really opening up and creating new experiences together with other parties. So we are opening our APIs from our digital platform so that our customers can utilize the data. They can tell the elevator where to go. They can listen to the elevator, understanding what's happening, is something wrong, or when the maintenance is happening. And we can also bring third parties to provide their services in the buildings, enhancing what's already happening there. So a great example is we had a public press release about this case a couple of weeks ago. Here in Helsinki, together with an ecosystem, we had a use case where a robot was implemented to deliver grocery shoppings to a high-rise residential building. So a robot was picking up the residential's orders from a grocery store and autonomously using our elevators to deliver them upstairs to destination. And similarly, we actually had robots doing room delivery service in hotels. Now in COVID times, we see a big rise in cleaning robots happening out there, and we can enable them to autonomously go around the tall buildings because of our APIs and open approach to the ecosystem. Another great example is, I mentioned I came with Metro this morning. So if you consider a facility hub, where there's a metro station, train station, during rush hour, again maybe pre-COVID, there's a lot of people coming in from different doorways. And if an elevator or escalator is out of use, there's a huge collide of people. They don't know where to go, how to get from A to B. There's a big problem to people getting to and back from work. So we can now open up the information. Simply give the information to other systems out there that, hey, we have an issue, there's an escalator out of use, for example, maintenance has been ordered, it will arrive at this and this time. So now the others can plan better what are the operations in their buildings. These kind of examples. And this is basically what we consider as the KONE ecosystem. But that's definitely not the end of it. There's what I like to call is an ecosystem of ecosystems. And that's what we are really doing here with KEKO. So alone, KONE will be able to maybe provide with a small set of ecosystem partners this kind of services within the building. But by utilizing our digital platform, opening our APIs, we can really collaborate on a further scale. Our people flow ecosystem is one small ecosystem bubble on the screen, which is part of a bigger smart building ecosystem that has energy management ecosystems, security ecosystems, and so forth. And that is linked to even bigger smart city ecosystem that can have mobility as a service, infrastructure, and all of that linked together. And the vision that we have as KONE is that we would be able to provide information, data to the rest of the bigger ecosystems in collaboration, innovating together. And that's of course the beauty of openness, opening up data, sharing it with APIs. And as you can imagine, KEKO fits very nicely to the picture I just had. So KEKO is basically this kind of smart building ecosystem. As you heard today multiple times, we are really trying to make this into a global standard for smart building. Here we can combine the data about the building information. We can have positioning information from within the building. We can understand the energy management. We can understand air quality. We can link this to the movement of the people, how they interact during the day, how they are related to their people flow, getting from place to B, A to B, and controlling the whole building as a whole. And that's really basically why KONE is really looking at data, we are really looking at APIs and working in an open ecosystem manner. It's a new way of working, but it's really the way that we can get digitalization ongoing. We can truly build smart buildings together with our KEKO friends. And I hope we have many new KEKO friends joining who are listening today. Thank you.
Thanks, Olli. Also personal thanks, because I was so excited to get you to, as a KEKO member, to talk to KEKO friends. Let's continue. I cannot remember during my ecosystem or even during my Nokia career that if we had a several member ecosystem project that have we had real launches. And in this time, at least for sure during my time, not the developer portal launch. KEKO is an ecosystem. Yes, we innovate together. We look towards the future together. We also want to be a practical entity that gets things done in the sprints, on a test platform, and so forth. Jaakko Ranne, again from KONE, has kindly promised to come and talk about our developer journey from now to tomorrow. Welcome, Jaakko.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jaakko Ranne. I'm here to talk a little bit about developer portal and developer experience in general. What it means more about understanding software developer needs and wants in a smart building context. I'm working at KONE, and there as a design researcher, what it means, my job is really to understand user needs and wants and adapt and enable those needs in the service development. And main idea of this presentation is to give you a short introduction on why we really do this kind of work, why we believe it's relevant, why we think that also everybody else should be doing it, not just KEKO. So we really believe that companies who can build and operate ecosystem-based business models will be the winners in the future, and they will succeed. When taking this into smart building context, we really need to connect developers together with end users. What it means, we need to enable smooth end user application development, for example. We also need to create a distribution channels where different kind of end users can receive those applications. And of course, we really need to provide opportunity to build a viable business for developers. Otherwise, this is not going to succeed. How we see it is that the success of the ecosystem really depends on simultaneous growth rate of both active users, but also active developers. And to really create a self-sufficient ecosystem, we of course need active customer base. However, these customers are not going to join into the ecosystem if there is not something interesting. They really need to get something out of it. And for that reason, we really need developers who can enable these kind of attractive end-user applications. And it's clear that end-user-driven design is important. Many companies are doing it. We are doing it also. However, especially in this kind of ecosystem type of a platform, there are also other kind of stakeholders, such as developers, whose needs should really be taken into consideration, because that's where we believe we can create a successful business. Okay, so how do we do this kind of work? Well, we really believe that methods such as quick testing, fast failing, and other kind of code development are really functioning well in this kind of platform development. And as you heard already, we are really having this kind of challenge competitions where different companies, big and small ones, can really showcase their expertise, really inform us how they could really show extra value for KEKO. But then also it helps us to better understand how they see the value of KEKO and how we could still develop it forward. We are also conducting this kind of expert interviews because the idea in there is to really get a better understanding how developers' daily practices and how personal motivations are going in the background of development. We are also hosting co-pilots where we really try to turn this value creation into something more tangible. We have great ideas, but then this is a real way to make them like real. And that's also a really good way to collect real practical knowledge, which is of course needed when really creating a platform. And basically with all this effort, we really aim to understand what are those developer needs and wants. What are those then? This figure over here, it really illustrates the fundamental needs of the platform and the developer experience. We really want to understand how to create a platform which is functional, which is reliable, and also usable. In other words, how can we create some kind of design for the platform which is really simple to use, but still forgiving when making mistakes? Not if, but when. And then basically these bottom three factors that you see over here, these are really fundamental in order to create a functional ecosystem and a platform. However, if we also want to create a successful developer experience, then we also must think about proficiency and creativity. Because if this design can help developers to do more and create more, achieve more, if they can be more creative, they will also more likely produce high-level value for our end users and customers. And so if the developers feel that the work is important, maybe meaningful, maybe empowering, maybe even exciting and fun, then also the ecosystem is more likely producing high-end value, becoming popular, and then again, maybe app providers and different companies want to really stay around for a long time. Here on the left side are some topics which we have recognized that are really affecting to developers' daily work. On the right side, there are platform-related factors which are, of course, also affecting the experience, but also, for example, the consideration whether a person would even like to join the ecosystem in the first place. If we look at the left side, there is, for example, a communication of the developer experience. And for example, when we really try to create stakeholder connections, or when we are creating clear tutorials and guides of how to use the data in the first place, how to get everything out of the data. Then again, open APIs and platform are really something which really makes the development smoother, but also makes it functional. Then again, it has also other side. It really helps to increase the transparency and in that way enable trust between different stakeholders. And that's again really important when we are trying to create a long-term relationships. Then a possibility to test and try different ideas. It's also something that is seen as a real valuable thing. Because this kind of test environment, it can be a real building or it can be digital building, but as long as we have some kind of playground where we can really test ideas, test what is working, what is not working, it can really help in developers' creativity, for example. And then finally, the quality of the data is something. It's really like the cornerstone of this kind of platform. We need to ensure that this kind of data is reliable, scalable, and comparable, because that's really, it's all about this. And basically these topics, these are something which are really affecting to the developer needs and wants. And if you compare these things under the triangle on the background, you can really see that, of course, these things affect the functionality of daily work. But then again, if done right, these things can also affect on creativity And that way, if we can really support developers, I believe we can create a sufficient ecosystem. And then again, also this effect on platform quality, such as brand value or end user experience. In the end, I would like to highlight our developer portal website, which is launched recently. And the purpose of this portal is to really concretize all these previously presented needs and wants, and really to provide all the necessary tools for software development around KEKO platform. So please go check it out if you are interested, and also if you want to comment on something, give feedback, just say hi. We also have a Slack channel that you can find from our website, so please come there if you want to say hi. But that's about it. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jaakko. So developer kekoecosystem.com. Thanks a lot. Let's move on. I have a great pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker, Sari Kola, who to me, she's an innovation doctor, she's an author, entrepreneur. Oh, you tell what else, but the super person, super lady, and I dare to call you also as my friend, and I'm very, very pleased to have you as our second outside of KEKO external keynote speaker today. So Sari Kola, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Wow, it's great to be here. My name is Sari Kola, and I like to think myself as a thinker and a doer, which means that I'm doing a lot of stuff with ecosystems. Recently put some of the doings in covers in the form of a book. And today I will be speaking a little bit about the content of the book, especially from the viewpoint of the power of ecosystems. Here comes the research part. Ecosystems need to be defined. So today we've been talking about innovation ecosystems, business ecosystems, and the point, don't want to read the slide, but the point of ecosystems is that they are continuously adapting. And in ecosystems, every actor is affecting and affected by others. And that's important to remember because the ecosystem is a continuous journey. And what I will be speaking about is the art of creating impact in the spirit of Chen Tzu's art of war. And I will be speaking around three concepts. So one, ecosystem journey, understanding where you are, because you are continuously evolving. I will be speaking about the importance of purpose, which I think you, the key partners, have well defined. And then I will be speaking about the aligned objectives, which is by far the hardest part. Because whenever you have different partners, big companies working together with SMEs, with research institutions like VTT, and startups, everybody has different assumptions for the collaboration, different objectives, and let's say, if I think about the art of leading and creating impact, it's about transparency and sharing. Understanding where your partners are aiming on the journey. So let's start the journey. There is always a purpose for an ecosystem. It's to innovate together, it's to create business together. And oftentimes the purpose is articulated by the key partners in the emerging phase, which I feel in this KEKO ecosystem, it's behind us. So the key partners have worked together well enough to get funded. And now the next part of the journey is starting. The ecosystem is evolving. More partners are joining in. Partially, they are startups. through the ecosystem or the developer portal that was just launched. In the evolving phase, the important thing for everybody to remember is the purpose. Why are we here? Why is the problem that we are solving worth solving? And I guess that in the spirit of KEKO, the energy consumption of buildings is significant from the world's energy consumption perspective. So the problem is worth solving. People are moving in cities, so there will be more and more buildings. The problem is not going to go away. And that's probably very clear to all partners that are on board. With the partners that come in, especially for the startups, it's important to understand why do they join? Do they join because KONE is the coolest brand, or that they want to work with YIT or work with Nokia? Or do they join to solve the bigger problem that the ecosystem is planning to solve? My guess is that purpose matters much more than what we have been hearing today. Actually, I'm a Finnish engineer, a disclaimer. Many of the speeches have been very rational. We talk about portals, we talk about APIs, we talk about data. And there is a lot of emotion in the room, but we don't speak about it. But listen to me, the purpose should be emotional. You should live it, you should breathe it. It's not enough if you articulate that we have the developer portal or we have the APIs. We are here solving a problem that is worth solving. Problems arise when ecosystems start behaving like ecosystems do. They adapt, meaning I absolutely love the Netox comment that, there are partners that are not so much into the construction industry or the buildings. We are about data. So we are enabling a lot of stuff. And probably for some of the key partners, actually the adapting part starts to be a little bit problematic. What are these guys talking about? We don't understand. We don't know. Should we be involved? And this is the point when the biggest danger is that ecosystem becomes an ego-system. So think about that and be aware. And move on, because ultimately you have developed what you are planning to develop. You have created solutions and you are ready to commercialize. But at this point, the question is that who is the customer and how are you commercializing? Is the structure that you have fit for purpose, or should you do something else? And do the ecosystem partners sell the solutions directly to the customers? Or is there somebody, an orchestrator or innovator, who is going to, let's say, do the selling? Impact is created at every phase. In the emerging, evolving, adapting phases, we are learning and measuring. And in the ecosystem journey, there are a couple of things that you should remember. Number one, purpose. It should be rational, and it is. Emotional, I'll let you to judge, because it's very personal. And it should be engaging, and I would agree that it is. Going from purpose to impact calls for structure, and I would consider three things. Defining the objectives in terms of profit, so the money and investments that you are making. In terms of people, the impact that you are making in people's lives, let them be customers, employers, or partners. And then in terms of planet, so the socio-economic or environmental impact that you are making. So, to conclude, the art of leading and creating impact is based on purpose. And purpose is executed through aligned target setting. The old learning, having worked for KONE, for Nokia, and knowing that these are especially well-managed companies where KPIs are well-defined and well-known. When you work in an ecosystem, it becomes a little bit more difficult because at one part you should define the ecosystem-related objectives in terms of profit, people, and planet. And you need to make sure that the ecosystem is sustainable as it is. On the other part, you should make sure that the same objectives are translated in the company level. So each company participating, let it be a large corporation, let it be an SME, let it be a startup, is excited by the purpose and is able to define their objectives in terms of profit, people, and planet. And here it's very, very important to remember the timeline. For a startup, 1 year is much longer time than for a corporation, meaning that the time to profit needs to be aligned with the timeline or the speed, the clock speed of the type of company that is involved. Which means, of course, that from the larger partner's perspective, it's important to understand that the startups may need to be paid for the work that they do for the ecosystem. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is in the spirit of KEKO, but sometimes it is that in number of challenges, hacks, let it be, the expectation is that they want to join our ecosystem and they want to work for free. So bringing these things to the table openly, transparently, sharing objective, that's super important for winning together. And the last win has to do with the individuals. We all who work in ecosystem need to be powered up, inspired by the purpose, because otherwise we are not in it to win it. So the 3 key points. Whatever you do, consider the purpose and the objectives from ecosystem point of view, from every organization's point of view, and from individual point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Sari. Was wise words for us in the heart of an ecosystem called KEKO. I had given Sari 12 minutes the Cooper test, and that's exactly what she delivered. Let's move on. Hey, we have one exciting topic left, and I'm like already thinking about that. Where did the 2 hours go? I'm not alone here. So now I have KEKO friends. I have Mika from Halton, Kirsi, my dear colleague from Nokia, and Tom from YIT. Let's get rocking the Fireside chat number 2. The rest of KEKO partners, and most of you also KEKO steering members. We start exactly like we did previously. So I want to hear a short intro to your company and your own role. And let's go in order. So, Mika, please.
Thank you. So, Halton provides ventilation systems for demanding indoor spaces, such as, for example, professional kitchens, hospitals, offshore platforms, cruise ships, and also high-end offices. We are a family-owned company. operating in 35 countries, main markets being North America, Southeast Asia, West Europe, and also China. And we like to think us as being one of the leaders in high-end ventilation system globally. My own role is that I take care of the business development activities in Halton Group, and this is exactly those things that kind of belong under this business development, market development area.
Thank you. Let's move on. Kirsi, not exactly from a small family company or even mid-sized family company. So Kirsi from Nokia.
Nokia, yes, of course, yes. Nokia, well known, I guess, for everybody. So we are the provider of mobile networks. We have solutions for the fixed optical as well services. But what we come from, actually, myself and from Tuuli as well. So we are representing Nokia Enterprise business, where we are looking kind of industrial solutions to industrial customers and enterprises. And my role there is to look at actually beyond the connectivity topic. So look at how our solutions can be used and what are the applications that can use the connectivity solutions as well as the solutions we provide for the industries. So very much working with the ecosystem partners and KEKO ecosystem being a very good example of an ecosystem.
Thank you. And Tom, YIT.
Yes, I'm coming from YIT, and we are a urban developer and construction company who are working in Finland and in Eastern Europe and in Russia. We are building apartments, we are building and developing offices, office areas and larger areas. We are around 8,000 people in the company. And for us, it is really natural to be part of a project or a program like this. This is really in the heart of our business. Happy to be here.
Thanks everyone, and I'm smiling because my next question is about that. Why did your company join KEKO? No, Tom, you already answered. Maybe it's also pretty obvious for Halton, but let's start in the middle. So Kirsi, why did we as Nokia join KEKO?
Well, I think that first of all, there were very good companies that we met through when setting up a KEKO. So and as I said, that we are looking the solution towards enterprises, but we haven't yet looked really in detail the smart buildings and construction and all that. So it was a new segment for us, and there is a lot that we can understand better. Understand the ecosystem, understand the business itself. So I think these two angles. So first of all, kind of getting to new segment, but also with this approach what KEKO is providing. So the uniqueness of kind of really working through the design thinking, through the process of agile concepts and all that. I think that was one of the key topics as well for us.
Maybe you can still, Mikko, answer if you want to why Halton in KEKO, but I go forward with you and knowing that you come from this very space. So how do you see the role of ecosystems going forward?
Maybe I start with the why did we join? Because our mission is that we enable people's well-being in demanding spaces. And while we can do alone a lot to ensure the safety, ensure the quality of air, and also the sustainability of the buildings and ecosystem in general. So we feel that it's important for us to have other partners that can help in other ways us and also themselves in order to improve, as said, the well-being and sustainability of the whole environment. So that's the reason, and that's why we are in.
Thank you, and thanks all, very good answers. I break my rule. I'm going to ask one question that is actually not in your pre-list, but it's because the three companies that are now on stage, you were not part of the first Fireside. So I would like to, at least a quick round that what have you, YIT, what have you achieved during the KEKO year number one? And the same question then to Kirsi and Mikko.
First of all, I think what we really have learned a lot about is how to work in ecosystems, how to work together. When looking back also a little bit why it was really interesting for us to join is that we know that especially the data in the buildings is very much fragmented and in silos. Mm-hmm. So for us it has been really an interesting journey to see how we can do things together. And I think that a lot of the learnings, we have learned a lot. Then the question is, okay, what are the concrete things that we have got out so far? I think that we'll come back to that a little bit later in the discussion, that what are we expecting from year 2. So even though we have been going fast during the first year, we have learned a lot, and now we are really waiting for the concrete results in the second.
Mm-hmm. What about Mika, you and Halton, first year?
I would say, of course, for us, working in this kind of ecosystem project is a new thing. We haven't done that before, so it's a learning process for us also. But what comes to the concrete things that we have done during the first year of KEKO, we have laid our own foundations to be able to be part of the ecosystem, so developing our capabilities in sharing information and also storing information. And we have actually even made our first kind of offerings based on that work that we have done. So we are now capable of offering air door or indoor air as a service. And that's really something that has come out of this project.
Thank you. That's it's great to hear, because it shows the power of ecosystemic doing and even ecosystemic growth. But Kirsi, what about Nokia?
For Nokia, I think what we learned and achieved is quite a lot of also related to the way of working and building the ecosystem. Although we have done many ecosystem projects, but there has been some unique things in this one, and I think the spirit has been very good, open spirit. There also the kind of continuous learning, innovating. How do we work together? That has been something that we actually have done some changes during the project. That how could we do this better? And I hope we continue in the same spirit. So improve all the time. So I think that is one. And of course, so when we started from the challenges and identifying the needs of the users and going towards now to meet many exciting companies also, I think that was something. So what we learned. We learned there are many companies, smaller companies, kind of providing solutions. Of course, we cannot work with everybody, so we selected the winners that we are now focusing on working on the next steps. But the overall kind of very good learnings.
Thank you. And then to the future, to the year number 2. Actually, we are in KEKO now, and also the future is basically built now. And of course, when we continue our journey, we will tell also the same where next for the rest of the KEKO members. But let's start talking about tomorrow. Tom, you were super eager. So what now during the next year in KEKO for YIT and for KEKO?
If I start from a YIT point of view, we are really eager to be able to develop our project execution to increase efficiency there. And on the other hand, we are also really eager in how to develop our services together with our partners, together with our customers. So it's really a question of both sides, improving efficiency and creating more value. That's what we are really as a company looking for. And when looking at what we are doing in KEKO right now, I think we are absolutely on the right track for achieving that. We have these epics going on where we are testing and developing new ideas. We clearly see progress in these already. We have seen during this fall, and what I really expect and hope to see, and it's of course up to us to make it, is that we really get also concrete results out of this. And I'm really convinced that we will get that.
Thanks. Let's go in order. So Kirsi, what about you and Nokia? Nokia and KEKO itself. What do we want to achieve?
Well, I think we also want to achieve that we are now we are going towards more of the experimentations. Now we want to achieve results, tangible results, so we can demonstrate the power of bringing the solutions together. So bringing from Nokia side some of the enablers that we believe that would also bring additional data sources perhaps for the ecosystem to use. So the data is the key also what we are looking at. So how can we bring the data from to the developers to the KEPI platform? How we can also perhaps look at some of the edge computing requirements wherever that is needed, and go through these POCs, through these experiments, and learn and create then something that we really can kind of demonstrate and build on top of that. So I think that's the base. So, and of course expanding the ecosystem, so bringing then more companies to use the data to make something new out of it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Mika Halpern.
I would actually echo the earlier statements here that what we would like to see is a kind of concrete, practical experimentation of the platform itself and also the services on top. So that's what we are looking at, for example, in real terms, working together with companies like we saw today to improve our own services and hopefully also help the users of the buildings to have a better experience inside the buildings. For example, optimizing the temperature individually and saving the energy at the same time. So combining kind of the best of the both worlds.
Very good, thank you. I reflect on one comment in our chat now. There was a comment about that is this like technology companies bringing technology together. And I need to challenge that comment because if you hear what our colleagues are now talking, the same during the earlier Fireside, we have needed to take some technology elements to be able to offer you guys, to the KEKO ecosystem, something tangible to hook on. And rather than really doing this tech first. No, it's ecosystem first, and it's doing together. We have had on our Firesides now 7 KEKO members. I want to also make it very clear that we also invited the power of KEKO, who powered KEKO, Business Finland to join, but they are very busy in handling the applications coming in, so they couldn't join. And then want to also make it very clear that yes, there are 7 of us, 7 companies founding KEKO, but KEKO is for all of us. With this, the last question to all of you, and we start with Mika this time. What's your message to the KEKO ecosystem, to our friends out there?
I would actually repeat what we discussed just briefly ago. So let's get practical, let's get concrete results. That's the way to get the ecosystem up and running, be the global leader as mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Kirsi.
Well, thank you everybody for joining, first of all, and I think let's keep the spirit of innovating, renewing, and kind of keeping open-minded at how we can build the ecosystem, but also we need to keep the focus so that we do the tangible things as well. But any kind of ideas, of course, are very welcome, and those who are not yet KEKO members, so please stay in contact and let's see what we can do as a next step.
Thanks. Tom, anything to add?
Our mission is to make every building smart. And it is obvious that even though we are 7 companies and some startups related now to the KEKO ecosystem, we need more power, we need really more ideas, more hands-on, more practical things that we can test and we can develop. So totally agree with the previous ones. We need to be concrete, but we need also to really have good ideas and move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, fellow KEKO members. The time has come to start wrapping up our 2 hours together. I'm so grateful for this event. We show you and together with you, KEKO friends, that KEKO is alive. KEKO is now. You can keeping in touch with us on our webpage. Please order the newsletter. And I'm also very happy to see that there has been a lot of traction in the social media, which is also very, very excellent. I hope we come together again and hopefully then live here in Maria 01. I thank you from my heart. This is KEKO spirit, KEKO ecosystem. Together we wanted to deliver this event, and we are so grateful for having you guys out there. And let's stay safe. Let's look from now to next and do it together. Thank you on behalf of KEKO ecosystem.